During Year 12, I was able to consistently study 8+ hours every single day for months on end without burning out and with full focus. And the funny thing about all of this is I used to hate studying. I couldn't even sit down for 20 minutes without wanting to do something else. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to do this so that you can do it too and destroy a competition, outwork them, and ultimately achieve 10 times better results than they are. So be sure to grab a pen and paper because these tips, I promise you, if you follow them, you will be able to study way longer than you are right now. Before I actually get into what to do and how to do this, I just want to give a quick warning. And that warning is that yes, although you should be trying to study as hard as humanly possible, you also have to be mindful that quality is greater than quantity. So when I say study 8 hours per every single day, I wasn't taking notes. I wasn't doing things that were a waste of time. I was doing high quality study. I just want to make that very, very clear because I know some students, they do study a lot, but they're still getting bad. And the reason why this is because you only have one half of the equation so far, which is quantity, but you need the other half, which is quality. And that, trust me, I'll go over in this video so that you can study properly. And one last thing before I continue is this. If you are currently a C or D student who has this weird and false idea that you're going to be able to make an academic comeback and achieve extraordinary results without working hard, without putting in the effort, then you are delusional. I know there's a lot of crap out there of people saying how they got this ATAR by studying 4 hours a day and they got this ATAR by doing barely anything. I'm telling you right now, they're lying, okay? They've always been good students. They've always been spoon-fed, so it's easy for them to do that. But for you and me who have never been good students and we're trying to destroy everyone who has, we need to step up our game. So let's not waste any more time and let's get started. Tip number 1 to studying for 8 hours plus every single day is to find your drive. This is the most important thing, and it's why I'm talking about it first. You have to understand that your actions will become so much easier to do when you know exactly why you're doing them. And in the case for me, I wanted to achieve a 95 ATAR. I wanted to make an academic comeback. I wanted to prove my haters wrong. I wanted to make my family and my parents proud who've done so much for me. All these things bundled together was what pushed me so hard that 8 hours, 10 hours, even 12-hour days sometimes was easy for me. And this is why I need you to do the same thing. If you haven't already, I want you to print out the goal ATAR that you want to achieve and stick it on your wall. I put mine literally right here behind this monitor, and every single day, every single second, I would see that ATAR right on the screen and right on the wall, sorry. And every time I wanted to waste time, every time I wanted to get up and do something else, I would look at the ATAR and be like, Lukeman, do you want to achieve that? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, put your head down and work. And I need you to do the same thing. And on top of putting your goal ATAR on your wall, I also want you to ask yourself, why? Why do you want to achieve this ATAR? Why do you want to do so well in school? Why do you want to make this academic comeback? Why do you want to go from C's and D's to getting, 90+ ATAR? You need to identify why. And when you find this why, when you actually discover why you're doing all of this, then any how becomes so much easier. There was actually a quote I read once where when you know your why, you can endure any how, and trust me, that is the case. Tip number 2 is to plan your study session. I do not want you to ever start any study session, whether it's 8 hours long, 5 hours long, 4 hours long, without planning exactly what you're going to be doing. And this honestly makes up the bulk of being able to study for long hours in the first place. Because one of the biggest problems that I see with students who try to study a lot is that, they go to their desk, they sit down, they're motivated, but then they spend like the first 30 minutes, 1 hour, not even knowing what to do. But if you know exactly what you need to be doing before you've even sat at your desk, that is how you're going to be able to pump out 10-hour days, 8-hour days very, very easily. So what I want you to do is before your study session, me personally, I did this the night before and I'd recommend you do the same. I want you to write down exactly what you are planning to do in that study session. Like exactly what tasks are you going to be doing? What subjects are you going to be doing? What subjects are you going to do first? What tasks are you going to do first? And when are you going to start your study session? When you plan this and when you actually have clarity on what you're going to be doing, trust me, studying becomes 10 times easier to do. Now, on top of planning the actual specific tasks that you want to complete, you also want to make sure that when you've done this plan, you want to allocate the high impact activities to be first in that study session. And you want to put the low impact study sessions or the activities at the end of the day. So let me give you an example of this, right? Let's say you have a to-do list for a day that you want to do, a biology past paper, you want to do some math trial past paper questions, and you want to finish off your homework. Out of these three things, right, the most high impact activity would be the first two, which is doing the math questions and biology. So therefore, you would want to do those first as opposed to doing the homework first. And by doing this high impact activity first, not only does it guarantee you're going to complete it, but you're also going to be doing it better because you're more focused in the morning or at the start of the session as opposed to the end of the session. So when you write this to-do list, when you actually write out what you want to do that specific day or in that specific study session, look at the list and be like, okay, what is the most high impact activities and what is the most low impact activities? And then put the low impact stuff at the end of the day and the high impact stuff at the start of the day. Now, if you're struggling to identify what a high impact activity is, my personal measure is whatever gives you the most headache. So in my case, the biggest headache was English. Okay, therefore I want to do that first. All right, next thing. What's the next biggest headache? What's the next hardest task? Okay, past papers. That's so hard to do, right? That's the first thing. So essentially, the most high impact activity is the one where your brain's actually required. So therefore, taking notes and reading notes and highlighting things and watching videos, they're not high impact because you don't have to use much brain power for that. You could literally do that, watching Netflix in the background. Whereas doing a past paper and, testing yourself with questions, that actually requires your brain and you can't be distracted with other things. So that's how you want to kind of see what's high impact and low impact. Now, before I move on to the next tip, I want to clarify that you should only be doing a maximum of 3 subjects per day. Never do more than 3 subjects. Actually a few days ago, I had a student tell me that they study for every single subject 1 hour each. That is a terrible thing to do because when you do more than 3 subjects, you're spread way too thin and you're not able to actually focus. So that's why I'd recommend you do maximum 3 subjects. Tip number 3 is that you want to split your study session into blocks and then further split them using the Pomodoro method. Now, this is by far my most favorite tip because when you hear me say that I studied for 8 hours every single day, for months on end without burning out, in the back of your mind, you're like, what the hell? 8 hours? You studied for 8 hours? The only reason why you're thinking that is because you're looking at the 8 hours as a whole. But I don't look at it as a whole. I look at it as this. I study for 4 hours in the morning. That is further split in the Pomodoro method with 1 hour of study, 10-hour break, and just do that 4 times. Then I take a 2-hour midday break, and then I do another 4 hours in the afternoon. That's further split into 1 hour study, 10-hour break. That's 8 hours of study done for you. Right? So 8 hours of study is actually not a lot when you split it like this. So this is what I want you to do, right? I want you to split your study session into blocks. In my case, as I just said, I'll repeat it again. I woke up early in the morning, like 6 a.m. I'd study for 4 hours in the morning. And by the way, that wasn't 4 hours straight. I would split that further into a 1 hour study session with a 10-minute break. So I had very, very frequent breaks. I'd done a 4-hour block in the morning. Then in the middle of the day, I would have a 2-hour break. Right? 2-hour break. What did I do during that break? I would exercise, I would eat, I would spend time with family. Then in the afternoon at around 1:30, 2 o'clock, depending on how I'm feeling, I'd then pump out another 4-hour study session that's using the Pomodoro method, right? And there you have it. It's just simply 2 blocks of study and that equals 8 hours. So I want you to do the same thing and make sure you are studying using the Pomodoro method. And I'd recommend you use a tracker. So me personally, I used Forest. This is a paid app, but if you don't want a paid app, you can use something like Flora. It's literally the same thing. And you want to track your study session, right? You want to actually track it and you want to see where your hours are going because trust me, nothing is more motivating than finishing a study session, looking at your phone and seeing that you studied for 8 hours that day. It's honestly so good. Tip number 4 to studying for very long hours without burning out is to make sure that you have everything on the table before you start studying. So what I'd recommend you do is on the night before or even the morning of that study session, have a water bottle next to you. Have, a coffee. I drink coffee, right? I would make sure I have my coffee ready. On top of that, I'd also have some snacks. So I used to have like sliced apples. I don't know why, it hit differently when I studied, right? So I'd have like a bowl of sliced apples right next to me. And that reduces the need for me to get up, right? When I was studying for 8 hours a day, the only time I would get up is if I had to go to the bathroom. That's it. Apart from that, I'd stay on my desk the whole time until my study break. Why? Because I had my water bottle right here, I had my coffee right here, and I had my snacks right there. I didn't have to get up for anything. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself, okay, if I was to get up, what would I most likely get up for? Okay, well, I'm gonna have to get up for water. I'm probably gonna get up for like a snack to like nibble on, and then something else, right? Ask yourself that, and then have that ready on the table. Right. And I'd go to as far as saying even like a textbook, right? I used to tell myself, okay, I know that I'm going to have to do a past paper tomorrow. All right. And instead of me waiting till tomorrow to search up that past paper and then print it out and do blah, 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 I would have that past paper printed and on the desk the night before that study session so that when I got to my desk, everything was ready. I had my water bottle. I had my past paper. I had the coffee that I just made. I had my snacks. There's nothing stopping me from success. Right? So this is what I'd recommend you do. Have everything ready on the desk because that's going to reduce the friction between you and studying, which is going to allow you to study. Tip number 5 is to have a study with me video in the background. Now, this is a little bit of a weird and subtle tip, but I cannot emphasize how much it's actually helped me. So if you search up on YouTube, study with me 8 hours, it's going to come up with videos of people recording themselves studying for 8 hours. What I used to do was, and I know you might look at me weird now, but I used to have that video in the background and I used to follow them. I don't know why, but having that video up and seeing someone else who you don't even know existed studying with you, the motivation is just unmatched, honestly. I remember I used to have this one video, if I can find it, I'll put in a link below, but I used to have this one video of this guy who studied for 8 hours. I would literally always have it on and would start together and would finish together, right? It keeps you motivated because you see other people putting in that grind, putting in the effort, and it makes your journey less lonely. Tip number 6 is to have rain sounds in the background. Don't have music, don't have some, high rock or some rap or don't have that type of stuff playing in the background, because when you have music in the background that has a lot of like different noises and like everything's just crazy, how are you supposed to focus, right? You can't. So what I'd recommend you do is I'd recommend you have rain sounds playing in the background. And these rain sounds, again, I'll link this in the description down below. For me personally, it kept me extremely focused, right? Now, you might be different. If rain sounds don't work for you, I'd recommend you use 40 hertz binaural beats. Search it up and you'll find. But the point is, you want to listen to this type of stuff instead of music. Tip number 7 is to make sure you have a good diet. This is very, very important. You have to understand that if you want to study for 8 hours straight with full focus, without burning out, without doing all these things, you can't do that if you feel like you're crashing. Right? So that is why your diet needs to be good. And when I say good, I don't mean some bodybuilder diet or something like that. I mean, you want to reduce high sugary foods. So don't have a high sugar cereal for breakfast. Don't have like lollies next to you and every time you finish like a past paper. I've seen this trend online for I don't know how I saw it, where people tell you like, oh, have a chocolate bar next to you and every time you finish the study session, have a chocolate bar. Like that's so stupid, right? You don't have things that have high sugar, because high sugar leads to a spike and then is followed by a massive crash. So that's why you want to have a good diet. Have stuff that is high in protein, have stuff that is, low carb. Do your research there. I'm not a nutritionist. Do some research, but just have things that are not going to cause you to crash, because trust me, I've tried it before. If you try to study when your energy is genuinely low because you're eating absolute garbage, then you're not going to be able to do it, right? Tip number 8 is to make sure you have a good sleep. This is kind of similar to the diet tip that I just spoke about. If you have 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, how do you expect to sit down for 8 hours and study? It's not going to work. So make sure the night before you're having a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep, or, it kind of does depend on you. For me, honestly, my minimum was 6.5. But whatever your ideal sleep is, make sure you have a proper sleep beforehand. Do not try to study 8 hours a day with 4 hours of sleep. Like that is like trying to flog a dead horse. It just will not work. And there you have it. Those are my top 8 tips / things that I did that allowed me to study for 8+ hours every single day without burning out and with full focus. If you follow these yourself, I promise you things will be easier and you will be able to grind harder and longer and stronger than everyone else at your school, so that you can make an academic comeback and go from, getting C's and D's to achieving that dream ATAR of yours, just how I was able to do so. Now, I just want to finish this video with one quick tip, kind of a bonus tip. Make sure that you are building up over time. So if you're a student right now who is not able to study for long at all, let's say right now you're studying for like 3 hours, right? You don't want to try to go from 3 hours to 8 hours, right? You want to build up over time. So in my case, I went from 2 hours, then increased to 3 hours, then increased to 4 hours, then 5 hours, and 6 hours, and 7 hours. Ultimately, I was able to then go to 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, etc. Right? But the point is, I didn't go from 0 to 100. I went from 0 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 50, etc., etc. So if you build that muscle over time, things are going to be much easier. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, grind and study harder than everyone else and become extraordinary. Don't do what most people do. Work harder than everyone and you will get the results that no one else is able to get. See you in the next one.